so everyone has this. I don't remember if I already created one, but okay. So to import your dialogue, your audio file, you go to File, Import, and first you need to put your audio file into the correct folder in your project. So I go to LipSync, my LipSync project, and then there's a sound file, sound folder, and then I have Celebramos. Actually, I think this WAV file is what I use because yeah, it has to be a WAV file for Maya, and it's if it doesn't immediately pop up, you right click on the time slider and go to audio, and then SC. You find the audio that you named, and you click on the options button, options box, and that brings up your offset. My audio is way down here at 1551 frames because that's where my animation is. So I'm going to bring it back to 101 so you can see where it's at. So you can see that that's where the audio starts. But again, I want to add 24 frames to this so that I can give my audience at least a second before I start talking. And during that second, you may take, I don't know, like this guy that we were just watching on Maria's video, his breath, he's going to take a really big breath and then he starts talking because he's really excited. So give your audience enough time to anticipate the dialogue, at least a second. So that's one way to import dialogue. The other way is if you go to animation, switch this, sorry. And this is a new tool in Maya. So if you go to animation, this button here, this audio button is new. And then you can say import audio clip to time editor. And I don't really use the time editor, but again, you would first go to the, you have to go to your audio file. So LipSync, sound, and then open. And I've already created it. But we're not so much going to use the time editor. It's just more, we're going to use the graph editor and the time slider down here. But either way works as long as, so again, the important thing is going to that options box and, oops, I didn't want to play blast. Options box for audio. And if you have multiple dialogues in here, you can set their offset to different frames. But so yeah, offset to, everyone should start at frame, key their safety frame at 100 for their whole character, and then key it again at frame 101 to start your animation. Once you've done that, delete this or change this back to 101 so you never show your audience the character in T-pose. And then you offset your animation, your audio to 125 to give your character enough time, your audience enough time to see your character anticipate the dialogue before they actually start talking. And also at the end, let's just say she talks until like 255 or something. I'm going to give, and I would cut this off in my sound editor, not in Maya, but I would give my character another maybe second at the end. So 155, let's say 150, plus 25 frames is 175. So we don't cut them off right at mid-sentence or whatever. We want to give our audience time to digest what they've seen at the end as well. Does that answer your questions, Julia? Do you have any other questions about importing audio?
No, I think I kind of figured out with the time editor and just trying to get to the specific piece of audio that I needed.
So Cody did us a favor last week, and he made us a WAV file of the "When I Grow Up" dialogue. So that's available on the LipSync folder. Let me just show you guys if you haven't seen that yet. I'm still screen sharing. So I go to Scenes, My Drive. So here's our class folder. And then here's LipSync. And then here's when I grow up .wave. you can just take it right off of this the Missouri Western, this our Google Drive in LipSync. And it has a whole, I think it's whatever, 4 minutes of dialogue that all these kids are saying when I grew up. Yeah, 4 minutes and 4 seconds. So you would, if you wanted to, you could go in, and if you have an either in Premiere or some other like Audition or Audacity, you can cut it down to just your dialogue if you want to, so you don't have to keep searching for it. But yeah, that's a different.
By the way, can you email the link out to the YouTube video?
This one for yeah,
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and do that right now. Control C.
Thank you.
Yep. And let's see. So I'm gonna go ahead and pause my recording. Recording. So with these microcontrols, I mean, first you could just test them and see what they do, what you can do with them. These 4 arrows, that moves the whole mouth up and down, so that's more of a macro control. And so that's where you can see, when you start to see stuff like this happening where the geometry is colliding in between itself, I mean, this is a really extreme pose. It's not so bad over here, but over here it's really bad. You should be able to slide it left and right a little bit, or maybe even rotate it. But these shapes with these microcontrols, you can get some nice subtle poses, but you just want to be careful that you don't, sometimes you can get stuff that just looks weird. And sometimes it's a little obvious, like that's obviously, we're not going to have a mouse shape like that. And it's just a matter of pulling this up to meet the other ones. But this starts to feel, if it starts to look wrong, it probably is wrong. This probably needs to come down a little bit. Maybe this one too. And our mouths are pretty flexible, but if you pull this down too far without the other controls, you can see that there's a sharp corner there. We can't get that sharp corner. Our mouths are very pliable and organic, so you're not going to get a sharp corner in your mouth like that. In the lip, I mean, you'll get a sharp corner here at the actual corners of the mouth, but not through here. This should stay. You should see a nice curve through that shape. So maybe I need to pull some of these more to continue that shape better. And you can play with the nose. You can, because when we speak, the skin, and if I'm opening my mouth, and that's what I like about this rig. You can see that the nose, the skin around the nose follows the mouth to a certain degree. The jaw has influence over the skin around the nose area, but if you want to push it further, you can grab these nostrils and drag them down a little bit, or you can actually pull the nose down slightly. Then this cheek control can help with that as well. And I imagine you can probably scale it if you wanted to poof the cheek out a little bit, or maybe even the opposite too. The eye area is, I mean, these are very cartoony eyes. This is not what our eyes do at all. It just tapers to a very flat plane. We have more flesh out. We actually have a bone that encloses our eye here, and this character's anatomy doesn't do that. It's just basically huge eyeball just meeting the side of the face with skin. There's not enough room here for actual bone like we have. So you have to be careful that this doesn't get too thin. Like if I scale this or move this cheek in, you are immediately start to see the eyeball through there, because there's just not enough flesh there. So you don't want to get it so thin that it looks wrong. You can keep your cheek area and this area a little bit more chubby, especially with these little kids. so this strange anatomy doesn't start to feel unnatural. And we'll get into the eyes and the eyebrows more after you guys get the mouth shapes. But all this stuff is really secondary. First is the body, then there's the mouth, and then the eyes. And sometimes, you may have the eyes lead the movement or the animation, but you can just grab these controls and move them up and down, but you can see that it really starts to, looks like, what's his name? Quasimodo. And you can scale these, I'm sure. That's actually a little bit more believable if you scale them down. You get a little bit more flesh here. That feels a little bit less cartoony for me, at least. So you can reposition the eyes, but you'd have to do that consistently throughout the model. You can't just change it like that. Yeah, so you can get these eyes pretty ugly, but just be careful with the eye controls. All right.